Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dion, and this is episode 121. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening on. You can also check out my work at knac.com, where you'll find exclusive interviews, album reviews, live show coverage, and more. My guest for this episode is vocalist Matthew Whiteman of the band Antisaint. Antisaint recently released a 3 EP collection combined into one entitled Antisaint. They are also going to be a part of the historic 20th Download Festival in Donington Park in the UK, June 8th through the 11th of this year. So here's Matthew Whiteman of Antisaint to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about Antisaint, how would you describe the band's music to me?
I would say it's a heavy groove music. You know, it's kind of on the lines of Chevelle, if you know Chevelle. It's heavy, but it's also smooth. You know, that's what I can describe it as.
Now, you guys were originally known as Red Tide Rising. Why the change?
Yeah. So we were Red Tide Rising for a very long time. Pretty much since I was in middle school, and I was lucky enough, like during Red Tide Rising, to be introduced gradually to the next level, you know, like going on different tours and things like that. And eventually it got to a point where we were feeling really good and feeling really like that we can make this. So you know, the pandemic hit. We wanted to do big things at the end of Red Tide. It just didn't happen. So it just made sense to rebrand and start from scratch and do it the right way.
How did you decide on the band name Antisaint?
Yeah. So like I had said, we're huge fans of Chevelle, and that is one of their songs. And it's kind of like Godsmack, I believe, is from the Alice in Chains song. So it was kind of paying homage to that, and it wasn't copyrighted, so that was a plus.
The big news coming out of the Antisaint camp is you guys are going to be playing Download 20 at Donington Park in the UK, June 8th through the 11th. Was there something special you had to do to secure this gig?
I wouldn't say special. We just we worked hard, and the opportunity presented itself on the last tour we did with Drowning Pool in November. There were some industry people out checking that tour, and we impressed them with our performance, and they submitted on our behalf, and we got an offer.
Have you ever played a festival of this size before, whether under the Antisaint name or your prior name?
No, this is the first one, and it's huge, you know. It really hit home when that ad mat came out, and our name is on the same promo as Metallica and Disturbed, and yeah, it's just massive.
And you're going to be playing on Saturday night, opening for Clutch and Ice Nine Kills, which is from my neck of the woods, Coheed and Cambria, Bad Wolves. Are these bands that you've played with in the past?
I have not played with any of these bands in the past, so it's going to be really cool. I can't wait for the whole festival experience. You know, that European crowd is something else. So
obviously there's a bit of work that goes into putting on your show for Download, but obviously you're going to be a fan as well. I assume everybody's going to be checking out Metallica and Alter Bridge on opening night.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But yeah, we have been working it since we found out, and there's so many logistics that we've had to figure out and all that stuff, and it's finally all coming together as we're about 60 days out.
You're going to be playing music from your current album Vaticanate, which came out in 2021. This is sort of a unique collection. It's a collection of 3 EPs available as one set, if you kind of want to explain how it ended up that way.
So the original intention of the project was to basically make 3 separate EPs and then tour each EP individually and release them within like 3-4 months. And the hope was to hit the same markets to give everyone a different show each time. So, it's broken up into 3 parts: To Fear, To Digest, and To Create. Each part kind of has a little similarity. So, like, To Fear is more on the lines of rock and classic rock, stuff like that. And then To Digest is more on the heavy new metal and metal stuff. And then To Create is more, it's kind of a mix of both, and it's a little mainstream. So they all kind of were going to be these separate pieces. And then the pandemic hit. So during the pandemic and during the rebranding, we decided to create a single album out of all 3 of them and release it that way. And we do have a special edition where we kind of kept that original idea of the 3 pieces and put the artwork and stuff and pay homage to that idea.
And you're very hands-on with the artwork as far as that's concerned, correct?
Minus the covers, I did all the artwork, just different pieces that came to mind when I was writing the album. And I was dabbling with 3D art, modeling and 3D softwares and stuff. So I created a bunch of stuff out of that.
You've released a music video for at least one song from each EP, as it were, music videos being today's version of singles. So let's talk a little bit about each song that's out there now. Let's talk a little bit about the story behind Incomplete from the To Fear section of the album.
Incomplete was kind of just a song about the frustration of kind of not being taken serious because of age. Like I've been doing this for a long time, since 9 years old. And I've been into this very serious around my 20s, start 20, 21. I've been told that I would be a success and stuff like that. And yet, all the other things on our generation is just the opportunities were crushed during the pandemic and stuff like that. And just kind of the general thing is we don't get a chance to do stuff. So that's what Incomplete is about, where it's like, it's the frustration of being denied an opportunity because they think it's too young or not ready, stuff like that, where it's just kind of calling it out. So
let's move on to the To Digest section of the album. You've released Feed the Crows, if you want to talk about that song.
Yeah, that one's just a fun song to play live. It's a banger. It's fast. It gets down in your face and it's a heavy groove. It's just part of this project was a kind of like a 1984 fictional story going on based on that dystopia. So Feed the Crows is when it all just kind of gets to the boiling point and breaks down. So it's a fun song to play live. It's a good one to add to your playlist and stuff like that to listen to.
And the third section of the album, To Create, you've released the song Rediscovering Reason, if you want to talk about the meaning behind that song.
Rediscovering Reason is it's kind of like the conclusion. It's being kind of being honest with yourself of figuring out what is going on. Like this whole album is kind of also on the back lines, like the process of creating something. So like the fear is kind of the initial idea where you're hesitant of it or it doesn't work out. And then To Digest is like really digging into it. To Create is the reward and the aftermath of it. So Rediscovering Reason kind of captures that energy into it.
So would you say that this three EP collection is sort of representative of what you're going through with Antisaint.
Yes and no. We wrote these songs several years ago. I had just started to take songwriting more serious and try to make songs based off of life experience, because prior to that, what can a 16-year-old write about? Pretty much nothing. And so, the new direction that Antisaint's going is it's more on the lines of real emotional stuff that has happened. The stuff like what it was like, going through the pandemic, when riding that high of almost, everything that I worked for was about to really come to fruition with Antisaint. We were getting a lot of good stuff that was in the works from the industry. Tours lined up, a potential label signing, things like that. And then the pandemic hit. So the future direction of Antisaint is going to be it's going to be a dark album that we're working on, and it's a real one.
For this one, you worked with engineer and producer Jeff Cannon. You've worked with him in the past. Is there something that he brings to the table that you enjoy working with him so much?
Yeah, Jeff is just one of those guys that he's been working it a long time, and to pick his brain on things is just it's great. He's been a part of tons of different genres, anywhere from pop to rock to metal. He's got the whole spectrum where he's worked in, and he just knows his stuff, and he's a he's a very professional guy, and that's why we go back to him, because we know what we're going to get out of him, and it just makes the process that much better.
Antisaint was released on Incomplete Records. Is this your own imprint?
Yeah, that's our own thing that we had to set up for distribution and all that.
Do you plan on releasing future Antisaint material through this label or other artists?
No, we're planning on chasing after some big names. So, we're about to go into studio next week to start our future. It's going to be exciting. And yeah, there's just stuff I can't talk about. So
fair enough. You got a warm-up show ahead of the download show May 26th in Denver, Colorado. Is that pretty much where you're going to test out the set for download?
Yeah, more or less. We'll be playing a little bit more songs, but yeah, we're still playing around with how we want to do the download set. I know we've been swapping in and out a couple songs just to get the flow. I personally want it to be just a fast, heavy set. Punch these people in the face at at download. So yeah, it's exciting. We're gonna do a little regional run. Hopefully, we're working on booking a couple more shows. So just kind of get a little warmed up before going across the pond and get ready for that.
Beyond the regional stuff and the UK festival stop, are you anticipating some sort of tour across the United States or Europe?
Yeah, we are working on filling the back half of the year. Stuff I can't talk about, but if some of it comes through, it'll be very exciting.
Antisaint has a Patreon page where fans can pay at certain tier levels to get certain rewards and stuff like that. And if you want to get a little bit into what fans would expect subscribing to your Patreon page,
we're breaking it up into 6-month chunks. And during these chunks, you can get exclusive merch that is made only during that time. So this first half year that we're doing is the theme of the Roaring 20s. So it's kind of got some, 1984 type art and stuff like that for the merch. The whole idea was just to establish this as like a way to reward our fans from an early point of getting exclusive merch, getting the looks of behind the scenes, stuff like that, and having the stuff to prove that you saw Antisaint from the start. I think that'd be incredible if I had like a Metallica shirt from from when they started out, or things like that. So it kind of offers a fan just a really cool place that shows that they supported us from the beginning, and we recognize that.
Do you have a bass player for Antisaint?
We do, yeah. We're working on filling out the back line. Our bass player was actually in the recording process of Vaticinate as the studio intern. So he's been around this project pretty much as long as Andrew and I have from the Vaticinate point. So it's really cool to be able to integrate him into the next part of it.
Those are all the questions I have for you today, Matthew. The new album Vaticinate is out now. You guys are going to be heading to Download 20 on June 8th through the 11th. Seems like everything's going your way with this new project, and I wish you the best of luck with it. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Once again, I want to thank Matthew Whiteman of Antisaint for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Vaticinate, available now. Head over to your favorite music streaming app. Take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy. Support the artist. For all things Antisaint, head over to their Facebook page /Antisaint Band. I also want to thank Dave Tedder of Headfirst Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dion. I'll see you again.